So here I am with a college degree, had some success in nonprofit sphere, had some just done some things positive throughout my career, and I'm out delivering pizzas of Papa John's.
Have you ever felt that unsettling shift? That moment when one chapter slams shut and leaves you in a strange and in-between space. You got no map, no compass, you're just wondering what could happen next. You just heard from our guest today. And what if I told you that navigating these tricky transitions from the ending through the neutral zone and into a bold new beginning is the secret to unlocking incredible growth? As an author, coach, and business consultant, I've guided countless individuals through their own pivots. And believe me, as a former pastor myself, I know a thing or two about profound endings and unexpected new beginnings. So in season 4 of the How People Grow podcast, we're pulling back the curtain on some truly mind-bending transformations. Imagine this: a pastor whose house burns down and becomes a rock star. A former Mormon finding herself through plant medicine. A corporate leader loses his job and ends up delivering pizzas. And a woman who trades the boardroom for a hut in a faraway land. These are just some of the stories we're going to share. And these aren't just stories. For some of us, they could be blueprints. Join me, David Achata, as we uncover the raw, often messy, and utterly inspiring ways people don't just survive change, but they thrive. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. Well, it's good to be back together again. Today, our guest is Daniel Kasambira. And I met Daniel recently. He's a new acquaintance. And Daniel is the president and CEO of United Way in Madison County in Huntsville, Alabama. Daniel, so good to have you. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks a lot for this opportunity. Really appreciate it, David. When you reached out to me and said, "Hey, we'd love to do this podcast," I don't take these things for granted. So I'm privileged and honored that you'd consider me for this podcast.
Yeah, Dan, when we met just a few weeks ago, I was able to hear just a little bit of your story. And before I jump into asking you more about that, I know that you're so much more than a president and a CEO of United Way. So how else would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm fortunate, I'm a believer. So that's something that I always lead off with. I just wouldn't be where I'm at without Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. Also, I'm a husband. Julie and I have been married 26 years now, 27 years in November. We have 4 children, 3 boys and a girl. Jamal, I think 33, 25, 24, and she'll be 21 this month. Of course, the daughter's the baby. And so I'm just blessed. I got a great opportunity who I work with. I work with a great team here, a great board of directors, and just fortunate throughout my life that the value of relationships are very, very important to me. And as you hear my story, you'll be able to figure out why relationships are so important to me.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys like to do for fun?
I play golf. I love golf. Not very good. Picked up a couple of years playing golf. I grew up playing basketball and played basketball in college, actually. And that was back in the old days, peach basket days.
Right?
So when my son started talking trash to me and telling me, "Dad, the game's passed you by," I had to figure out now. So I enjoy that. Enjoy reading quite a bit, and just enjoy just life. Spend time with the family.
Mm-hmm. You reading anything good right now?
Right now, I'm reading Leveling Up by Ryan Lee.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really good. I think it's his last one before his most recent one. I'm enjoying reading that, and something that's really stood out to me.
Yeah.
And another book I just finished reading also is Choose Your Enemies Wisely, which is another great book. I enjoyed read that. So just depending on my mood and things. I'm a big John Maxwell fan. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big Patrick Lencioni fan.
Mm-hmm.
Really love John Gordon, all his books.
Yeah.
So I just try to read quite a bit. I really like those leadership development books and things like
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
Also, Mark
So
Miller is one of my favorites ones as well.
which
Mark,
one?
Mark Miller. Mark
Oh,
Miller's
oh,
books as well, from formerly Chick-fil-A.
yeah,
I enjoy
right.
his books as well.
Okay. Yeah, so share a little bit about, just briefly, because we're on the subject of transitions, but tell us a little bit about your origins and building up to how did you get into the leadership world?
Well, one of the things that being playing basketball throughout my life and in college and things, one of the things I've always been to shoot the ball pretty well, but I was always a point guard just because of my height. And but one of the things that I understood about leadership, it was how can I make others around me better? And that's something I've always kept. But I came from a family who also, my dad was a college professor, originally from Zimbabwe, Africa. I came to States when I was two and a half. Dad was a college professor. Mom was a pastor for 13 years, and dad was a college professor 28 years. And but they always talked about leading is one thing, but how can you serve and help others and give back to others is important because you get the education from my dad and of course the giving spirit from my mom. And so that's something that has always been important to me. And then so when was playing basketball, it was what can you do to make other guys around me better? How can I feed them to put them in best position to be successful? And I've just that's kind of transitioned to me and just my different positions starting off with the YMCA and then now with United Way. I just think every place I've been, I've just kind of been fortunate to be a servant leader.
Hmm. What was one of your first opportunities you got when you were younger to exercise those leadership muscles?
I'll never forget this opportunity. When I was in Rochester, New York, I was working for the YMCA. I was young and thought I'd accomplish all things, accomplish everything. And we got a grant. It was called a REAP grant, Rochester Early Enhancement Program grant. And the lady asked me because they were having some challenges in one of the schools, School 8. And if you don't know Rochester now, it's just a lot of challenges there. But this community in particular had some challenges, a lot of single parents, kids coming up in tough situations, just violence, drugs, things like that. Well, here I am as a program director at the Y, and they said, hey, why don't you write a grant for $30,000 to really enhance this community, go in and work for the school, provide a free after school program for kids. So no problem, put something like together, end up getting the grant. Well, they saw the success in which we're working with 75 children, initially said, hey, we need to grow this. And I think because I was leading at a young age and leading a lot of staff members, I wanted to create some sort of philosophy in which the kids understood they could be engaged with the process. And so I'm leading young people as well as my staff team. And I came up with this Rochester Anti-Violence Experience, which was the program was called,
Hmm.
but it's on a learn philosophy. And the learn was L for listen, E for enthusiasm, A for aim, R for respect, and N for notice. Well, no, of course, spells learn.
Hmm.
I want to do it in a manner with kids. And when I talk to these young people, they were, kindergarten through, fifth grade. When I talk to these young people, I say, what is listen to you? Who do you listen to? And they said the parents, the teachers, so on and forth. And I asked them, so do you listen to yourself? And they said, what do you mean listen to yourself? I said, because how you sound is reflection on all of those people you just
Hmm.
named.
Hmm.
E for enthusiasm. Of course, kids in that age group, they don't know enthusiasm in. I said, how many of you like to have fun? And of course, they raise their hand. How many of you like to just enjoy life? I said, have enthusiastic. No matter what you do, be enthusiastic. And this is when it kind of turned because I asked them, what's aim? And of course, one of the kids raised their hand, funny, comedian said, aim toothpaste. And then, but another one said, to me, aim is aiming a gun at someone.
Mm,
And
wow.
that really kind of changed the tide because dealing with kids like that's all they saw.
Hmm.
So with aim, I said having goals in life, have things that you want to accomplish. How many are good at, reading, math, and social, so things like that. And so having goals in life to accomplish. So we got goals here. We want to get you this program, get you to be successful and other things. R stands for respect. Who do you respect? So parents, teachers. And I said, do you respect yourself? And they were wondering, I said, same thing with listening stuff. Do you respect yourself? When you do that, other people will respect you. And the N stands for notice. And of course, one of the kids, I said, what do you notice? And one of the kids raised a hand, of course, said, I got a notice to the principal's office. Okay.
That's so
And
funny.
but then another child said, when I got home the other night, I had a notice of eviction on my door.
Wow.
So hearing kids from their perspective and
Yeah.
doing things, and I said, well, how many are good at math? And they raised, how many good at reading? How many good at social? How many not so good in those areas? And I said, so you notice what you're good at and notice what the challenges you have. All of us have challenges and all of us are good things. So notice things work for them. Now, I could easily just kind of utilize that and use that. But what I did was every day I had a different student stand up and lead through the group through the learn
Mm,
flow. They would listen, groups say listen,
mm,
enthusiasm, call and response. And I said, what does it spell? Learn. What does it spell? Learn. And then I said that this is what you can do. You do these things every day, you can be successful. So what it does for them, it gave them a sense of confidence because here they are, young people standing in front of peers that they're able to talk and speak, public speaking with confidence. Second thing I was able to do was be able to have something we can refer back to. So if they're disrespecting each other, talking about each other in some areas, I stopped the whole group. What does R stand for? Respect. Are you
mhm,
respecting there? So we're able to do that and utilize that for the greater good.
mhm.
Well, we had some success on the rates of people going to students to the principal's office reduced. Grades came up. People saw that this was having a positive effect in the community and wellness. But so they said, hey, we like what was happening. We'd like you to write for a larger grant for over 100,000. So I wrote a grant for 100,000. We're able to double that number of kids that we served. So we're able to do this. So had success, kept doing the same thing. Staff were really engaged, doing some great things. Well, they asked me to write a larger grant. So I'm getting $20,000 grant to
Okay.
expand, to serve the whole school, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Had some success there. And then the following year, they said, write $1 million grant.
Mm,
So we served two schools and did all the kids come free after school program. So we did that, did the program, had some success there. But this was kind of a shocker to me. I was at a conference several years ago and ran into a person who said, hey, they were talking about they're from working for the YMCA Rochester. I've been there, gone for years. And they said, oh, you're Daniel Kasambira. So, yes, he said, I want to thank you because now we have a representative of every single public school in Rochester City School District because you started that program.
mm.
Then I got the call from the CEO in Rochester. He said, in New York, this was voted the number one free after school program in the state of New York.
Wow.
And I say that not to pat myself on the back, but say that because there'll be young people who are still getting served now that I'll never meet.
Mhm.
And this is kind of leadership and legacy and knowing that there's impact that you can make no matter how small you start off.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, that's exactly what I was thinking about how you get those opportunities to serve more and more,
Mhm.
next level, next level.
Mhm.
And if it can sustain, if it can endure after you, that's the real
Yes,
reward.
yes.
That's so great to hear that it's still going and serving people. This season of our podcast is on transitions.
Mhm.
And one of the things I talked about in the very first episode was how transitions are marked by endings.
Yes.
And then there's a neutral zone before you get into the new beginning. And
Mhm.
when we met a few weeks ago, you were telling me some of your story about an ending in a neutral zone that you had to navigate. And so, would you tell us a little bit about what was going on that ended and then take us into that neutral zone for a bit?
Well, one of the things that I've always been a hard worker, always kind of try to serve people in different situations. And leaving from my YMCA experience in Rochester, I was there for 5 years as a program director. We were able to just impact a lot of people's lives. Well, I had a situation happen where I wanted to make more money, but also wanted an opportunity to be able to grow. So here I am, and I interviewed for a job in Chicago to run a YMCA there. And it was my first exec job. I was trying to just save the world and had the opportunity to work in it was tough why, urban area in Harvey, Illinois, and we had a lot of tough challenges there. And never did I know that all things that transpired would happen. So I got that, did that for a few years, then got an opportunity to run a bigger Y in Red Bank, New Jersey. And that it changed the whole dynamic of what happened because when I went to Red Bank, New Jersey, put it this way, Bruce Springsteen used to bring his kids to that YMCA. So it was going from urban to suburban,
Yeah.
Y, and had a great opportunity to experience. But the challenge for me personally because here I am, my family. We moved from Rochester to Chicago, and then some every place we went, I got another child. So we were like this to New Jersey. Well, we couldn't sell our house in Chicago initially in New Jersey. And Red Bank, Monmouth County at the time was, and it maybe still was one of the highest real estate markets in the country. So we couldn't sell a house in Chicago, ended up buying a house in New Jersey. So I said, okay, we'll pass through. Well, 8 months in, we're still paying two mortgages,
Mm.
4 grand a month in mortgages.
Mhm.
It killed us. It depleted but this opened up some doors for me because we had to make a decision after about 18 months. Do we want to stay and try to keep enduring? Because we finally sold it, after 8 months. And we said we got to make a change. And lo and behold, like, a couple job opportunities that came up. One was in Chevy Chase, Maryland, which I knew was very expensive, and also Birmingham, Alabama. So going up in the Northeast and Midwest, never been to Alabama. Well, I came down and I got a job opportunity in Birmingham, Alabama with the Y. Now, can you imagine, wife from Jamaica, knew her in New York, we met in New York. Now, convinced my family from that part of the country to come down to Birmingham about, it's
Mm.
probably one of my sales job. So I came
Mm.
down here in Birmingham. But when I came down with a different mindset, and that's why I talk about the value of relationships. So I came down with the mindset that, hey, we get things done up north, we make things happen. I'm coming down to run YMCA, we'll get things happen. Well, probably I met with our board chair, Andre Sparks, so Judge Andre Sparks and Cedric Sparks, and they were on board and they pulled me aside about 6 months in. So, Daniel, you want to be successful down south? I said, hey, I'm Andre. I'm doing this, that. Do you want to be successful down south? And I said, absolutely, Andre. Um, First, we develop relationships, then the business happens. Once you figure that out, Daniel, the world is yours.
Mm. Mhm.
So I ended up changing my whole mindset of how I operated, value of relationships and building, things, not knowing what was going to transpire next.
Yeah.
Well, I was there for the Y there for a couple years, and I get a nice opportunity at Office Max Distribution Center. This guy named Ronnie Bonds was hired and hired me as a number two guy there. More money. I was chasing a great opportunity, a $25 million company. We have 700 employees, and hey, I'm number two guy there. Well, a year in, uh, they merged another company, and they come to all executive leadership and said, "Hey, you no longer needed. We've got our own people we're bringing in."
Mm.
So this is the first time it happened to me. First time I'd gone to the for-profit sector. Ended up um, uh, saying, "Okay, no problem. I'll go ahead and land in the nonprofit field pretty easily." Well, 1 month went by, 2 months went by, 3 months went by. Couldn't find a job. Was writing grants for nonprofits, doing 3-3 in basketball tournaments, just doing a lot of things just to make ends meet. My wife was working at UAB, at University of Alabama, Birmingham at the time, as a scheduler. Not making a whole lot of money, but it's enough to sustain us. And I'm writing, doing all this side hustle stuff to kind of make some money. Well, 3 months in, I said I gotta do something because kids got to eat, wife's got to pay bills, and we're falling further and further behind. So listen to a guy named Dave Ramsey, and
Mm.
he said sometimes you need to deliver pizzas in order to move. So here I am with a college degree, had some success in nonprofit sphere, had some just done some things positive throughout my career, and I'm out delivering pizzas, Papa John's.
Mm.
So start off 7 days a week. And what I would do is from 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday, I was out delivering pizzas, just hustling the tips and things like that. But Saturdays from 10 to 10:30 to about 8, and then Sundays from 11 or 12 to about 7. I said, okay, God, you're taking me on a journey. I can handle this. Well, 10 months into this, which would be 7 months in, I ended up getting a call from the United Way of uh, Central Alabama, big United Way. They're $102 million now. And this guy named Dan Dunn and Ellen Grady said, hey, we'd love to have you on our team. The only position we have is a relationship manager job, which is kind of frontline. Basically, a teller at a bank. Not making much money, but you're just, And in this situation, I was raising in my divisions alone over $7 million a year. So I said, hey, I can handle this. Money will come eventually, but at least gets me to the field. But wasn't making enough money to leave my Papa John's experience. What I would do is 8 o'clock every day to 4 o'clock, put my shirt and tie on, my suit on, and go out and raise $7 million for United Way. And said, I could guide you. I know you're taking my journey. I'm learning from this and that whole process. And then from 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and I did live in Pizza Papa John's, and Saturday 10:38, and then Sundays 11:07. And so this was a 3.5 year journey. I was doing this. And I understood it, but I couldn't figure it out. I said, God, I'm a pretty good guy. I take care of people. I'm leading my family. I'm just trying to do what's right. What's going on here? And I hit a low point back in 20, and this was in because I did this from 2006, 2010. In 2008, I hit a low point. But all the time when I'm delivering pizzas, the value relationships, had a smile on my face, would do the makes good money and tips and just hustle and this. 2008, I hit a low point in which I was presented with an opportunity or a challenge in which I got a flat tire at the United Way. Couldn't afford $40 to repair my tire.
Wow.
So, but there was a lady named Camille Cowherd, and the value of relationships. She was a accounts payable person, not high in organization. She went on my behalf to the CEO and HR department, says, this guy's, I don't know if you know, he's working 2 jobs. He's got a flat tire. We need to figure out a way to help him. So United Way wrote me a check for $40. I'll never forget it. His money was tight.
Yeah.
It was really tight for us. Rob and Peter paid Paul, and they wrote a check for $40. Same thing happened in 2008. Christmas comes around every year. And we sat down with kids and said, guys, there's no Christmas this year. We just can't afford it. We can't, that's something we can't do. We couldn't afford Dollar Tree gifts. That's how much our tight money was.
Yeah.
Ended up, this guy named Kevin Grigsby, who was a loan executive. I knew him about 7 weeks in, and he worked for Alabama Power. And he said, hey, Daniel, I see how you're working both jobs. I see all the things you're doing. I never publicized it. He said, every year, my wife and I, we pray about it, and you came in our heart and spirit. We want to take care of Christmas for you and the kids, and wife and kid. And he said, but we do it differently. What we do is every year, what we do is we want to get a family. You go out and buy the gifts. We'll go out with you. You purchase all the gifts you want, and we wrap them. It's coming from you, not from us. Probably the greatest Christmas we experienced. Because the thoughtfulness that he did, and him and his wife did this, and we were able to do this. They got a babysitter for our kids, so it was just a blessing. Never forget that. It brings back to Andre Sparks and Cedric Sparks saying value of relationships.
Yeah.
And so as we went through the process and went through the going through that, it was eye opening, and I never forgot the value of relationships. So as a kind of fast forward. I get a call from Alabama A&M University Board of Trustees member Lucian Blankenship. Now with Lucian, what I was doing 3-on-3 basketball tournaments with him. I was doing a lot of things, and he said, "Dan, we got the opportunity here in Huntsville, Alabama, to open a brand new wellness center from scratch, and nobody on campus knows how to run a wellness center. I know your experience, I know your work ethic. Have you look at it." Now, once again, never been Huntsville, sight unseen. Came in for the job up here and ended up interviewing, getting the position, and basically only had a handful of staff members, but I had to start from scratch and hiring student workers. So here I am, hiring from attitude and teaching skills and servant leadership. And God placed in me when I was delivering pizzas a year before I got this job, said, hey, Daniel, I want you to focus when you get your next opportunity, the 5 C's for organizational excellence. First C is going to be character and operate with integrity. Second C is customer service. You provide outstanding customer service. Third C is cleanliness. You have clean books, clean facilities. Fourth C is community outreach. You're going to make sure you make a different impact on a larger, broader scale. And the fifth C is commitment to staff development. You're going to invest in your people to make a difference. Didn't know when I was going to use it. Had no job opportunity. And then that's when Lucian called and said, hey, there's an opportunity here. So what I do, bring that information up here, and implement the 5 C's for organizational excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Taught our student workers 40 at the time, then got done 30. And here I am, uh, just trying to teach them the importance of servant leadership through the 5 C's.
Yeah.
So with character, every year, every semester, we'd have student workers come in, and if you've never been Alabama, Maine at HBCU, they do some great work, and so every year we invite character, and guys would jump all over me and my team saying, "What do you mean character? We need to do what we're going to do." Had a guy, because the rules were hats off, your pants pulled up, you had to work out, not hang out, and all that. That's second C was customer service. We made sure we knew all the student workers' names, students' names that came in, and just made them feel comfortable and got the opportunity to went above and beyond customer service. Third C was cleanliness. We had just keep immaculate facilities. If a strand off a basketball net was coming down, we replaced it. We made sure we kept our equipment clean. The fourth one, community outreach. We had 15 partnerships set up in our community with different churches and groups who came and were a part of what's going on. And then lastly is commitment to staff development, investing in our young people, because I understood the importance of developing leaders for the future.
Mm-hmm.
We had some successes with that. With character, one of the things that came up was uh, uh, when you got in trouble, first time you're banned for a week, 2 weeks. Second time you got in trouble for a month. Third time indefinitely. Now, during a 4-year period from 2010 to 2014, when I worked there, we only had one young person that got forever, banned forever. About 20 that were banned for like a month, 2 weeks, and then 10 for like a month. You figure we had 2,400 students at ULI facility, so we'll take those numbers every day.
Yeah.
The second thing was customer service. 3 years of the 4 years I was there, we won best customer service on campus. We had 90% of the vote. And it's not to Daniel Kasambira, but it's instilling why I went through what I had to make sure we make people feel comfortable. Third C was cleanliness. I had a comptroller call me over to his office because they did internal audits. And he told me, Daniel, your comptroller calls you, you're in trouble. He said, Daniel, I've been doing this for 20 years, Norman Jones. And he said, what I realized is I've never seen cleaner books in my career. I would have people talk about how the wellness center was something that was an example for the entire campus. The fourth area was community outreach. I told you we set 15 different partnerships in community and just made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And the last C was commitment to staff development, investing into our young people. I'll never forget this young man who I still keep in touch with today. His name is Dominique Mallory. Dominique graduated from Lane College, was getting his master's degree at A&M in social work and just doing some good work. Well, people wanted to work at the Wellness Center just because of the culture we established and things like that. Well, I had, I would have no less than 100 resumes, people want to work there because new facility, we're doing some good things, we're creating a culture. So it was a high level of people that we got in. Not all best backgrounds, but the ones that showed great attitudes and taught skills. Well, Dominique was a young man who came from a tough part of Memphis, had some success and things like that. But some stuff sticks with you. I got a phone call from the assistant uh, uh, director of student affairs on a Saturday. Never forget it. He said, Daniel, I know the standard that you have set for your student workers and things this. Dominique got in some trouble last night. Think about throwing him out of school. What do you think we should do? So I said to him, Dominique's got some great, let me work on him. Let me take him under the wing, keep him in school working. So I call made was Dominique. Dominique, meet me 1:00 on Monday. He didn't know what was going on. First call I got was from his mom. Second call was got from me. Meet 1:00. So he thought he was gonna get fired. So I had one of those meetings where he walked in my office. I slammed those doors, just sit down. And I said, Dominique, let me tell you something. I could easily fire you and beyond that, but you have more to offer this world. And you have some greatness in you. I believe that some great things can happen from you. I expect you to be above and beyond anything that other employees have. Said, do you want to still work here? And he said, yes, I do. So after that, he got in. A few months later, he comes to my office and says, hey, Mr. Daniel, I'm thinking about starting my own nonprofit called Beating the Odds. And I want to work with young people like myself that have been through some challenges, and I want to work with, what do you think? That's a great idea, Dominique. So it goes up 5 years later, he contacts me, and we kept in touch over time. He says, I want you and your wife to come out this event. So I show up at the event, and it's a full house, a lot of people there. And he says, he calls me up front and says, this guy here saved my life. Mr. Daniel, we have 600 young people we're working with right now.
Mm.
Now they're 10 years in and have 1,000 kids. And he said, had you given up on me, who knows what would happen in the
Yeah.
future? And he said that, but I understood the journey I went through, the Papa John's journey I went through and all those things was for a reason, a purpose, and for nothing else to instill in, people the future and what can happen.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never forget this because and I share this all the time about the value of relationships because this came, long story short, well, I ended up getting a phone call from the YMCA here. And the Y says, hey, listen, Daniel, we have a CEO position. Joe Colazzo, who I met through Leadership Good Huntsville, says we got a brand new CEO position opening up here at the Y. We need someone with leader here in Huntsville. So I wasn't sure. I put my name in. I did make it to they had 113 candidates. I made the top 20. I didn't get an interview. But Joe Colazzo, because he said, you're a servant leader, Daniel. I see something in you. He ends up contacting the CEO who was hired and said, listen, you got to hire this guy for our flagship branch, Madison, which was struggling. So ended up interviewing, getting that job back in the YMCA system. And so this Y is beautiful, but they had a challenge. They had a $18 million debt service on the building. So, and what they do in normal situations, you want to raise 70% money and finance 30%. They did the exact opposite. So here you're coming in every year in $1 million in the hole before you even start every year because you're trying to pay debt service and all that facility. So morale wasn't great there. The culture wasn't great there. The membership was like 9,000 members, but not enough to sustain the organization. We're only raising $44,000 a year. Just had some challenges. And here, this is an affluent community. Median income now, I think it's 100,000. We got to do better. So I came in, and what I do, implement the 5 C's for organizational excellence. Went through that process with them, implemented that, and we ended up building our team. Well, we were losing my first, when I year before I got there, they lost $333,000 deficit.
Wow.
So I would say after my first year there, we made some progress. We only lost 331,000. So we made some progress. But then it got down to 200,000, then 106,000. But year 4, we ended up surplusing $44,000, 4-year turnaround, where we're raising not 44,000 a year, but over 126,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Our membership grew from 10,000 to 15,255. It became the largest YMCA in the state of Alabama.
Wow.
We finances, we grew from 2.9 million to 3.9 million. We grew made our membership retention from 61% to 71% in 4-year process. And we saw that turn. We saw all the great things happen. And, like if anybody got hit with COVID and different like that, we got impacted by that. But through this process of turning around, I received a phone call from Ron Poteet, who's a great volunteer community leader, and Dave Hargrove, who was AT&T doing a lot of great things here. And they said, hey, Daniel, we'd love to have you interview for a president CEO job here at United Way. Wasn't looking for the job. I said, I'd be happy to interview. I don't very rarely interview jobs. And he said, well, look, I think you could make a difference here, Daniel. So I said, sure. So I ended up, my first interview was in January of 2022. I looked on the screen, and looking back, and there was 13 different faces because it was virtual. It was a who's who in town. Joe Newberry, CEO of Wrestling Credit Union, Ron Poteet, Dave Hargrove, Beth Richardson, Mike Stewart, Kenny Anderson, Larry Lewis, Carmelita Palmer. So you look on the thing, and it's Lee Holland, all the key community leaders who previously were board chairs for the Y. So I look on the screen. I have personal relationship with 11 or 13 people on the screen.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I think back to Henri Sparks. Henri told me value relationships. never meet a stranger, treat people right, and value relationships. So here I am. I interviewed for that and I make it the top three candidates for the face-to-face interview. And so I walk in from the interview, and it's a who's who: Ben Robb from Publix, Joe Newberry, Beth Richardson, Lisa Way, all these Ron Poteet. So the first question they asked me is this: Daniel, and this role as president and CEO of United Way, it's a big job. And I said, you got staff members you're going to lead and things like that. How will you tell us about a situation you've had a challenge in your life in which you had to overcome that challenge? They threw me a softball. So I can
Yeah.
talk about Papa John's experience. I could talk about this different challenges. And I said, can I do a personal one as a professional one? They said, absolutely. I said, can I do the personal one first? They said, absolutely. And I said, I'll never forget the date, December 29th, 2000. I was running the YMCA in Chicago. It was a tough Y. I had that bullshit. It was a tough Y. And I'll never forget the day. I get a knock on my wife happened to stop by the Y that day. So I get a knock on my office door saying a guy collapsed in the fitness center. So I run down there. I say, young man Curtis, who's a 17-year-old lifeguard, giving CPR to the first guy on the floor. My wife jumps in. She's giving CPR. Members are watching this. Staff members are watching this. I jump in. Well, the guy dies there on my
Wow.
fitness floor.
Mm.
Well, that guy was my father,
Mm.
my hero, who
Mm.
taught me everything I knew. So I had to lead our staff team. You have a 17-year-old that feels crushed, a wife with a great relationship, and you have people that are all surrounding and seeing this go on. How can I lead us through this challenging process? As challenging it is. Ended up leading us with some success there. And so that was the first question I asked for the interview. Then I shared about Papa John's. I shared about my YMCA experience and all that. Well, I get a phone call. Said he put me through a psychological exam like they always do and all that and background checks. And so I get a phone call, and it's Lisa Wade, the board chair. It said, Daniel, you've risen to the top. We'd like to extend you the offer of president CEO of the United Way. And I said, are you interested? Absolutely. Sent me the offer letter and all that. And I said, well, I was going to do a typical thing that we do. Go online and, hey, my social media, hey, I'm privileged and honored to be the president of the United Way. I'm in this new position, all this. I said, I'm going to do something differently. I said, what I want to do is the first phone call I made was my wife. I said, we made it, honey. I'm president and CEO of United Way. And I said, you didn't give up on me when I was delivering pizza at Papa John's. You were there for me. You and the kids loved me and respected me and loved me the same. We've made it. Second call I made was to Judge Andre Sparks. I said, Andre, you told me the value of relationships. We made it. Third call I made was Camille Coward. Camille, you saw my lowest point. I couldn't afford $40 to repair my tire. You saw something in me. We made it. Next call I made was Kevin Grigsby. Kevin, we couldn't afford Christmas. You saw something in me. We made it. Joe Colazzo, Lucian Blankenship, all those people along the way, about an hour and a half worth of calls, people along my journey. So when you talk about transitions, people are all on the journey with you.
Yeah.
And I share that. And what I started to do about 7, 8 years ago is about 2,600 plus contacts on my phone. So every Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Mother's Day and Father's Day, as well as birthdays. I take the time out and I send personal text messages to every person in my contact list. This is all you got a system. Yep, a system is
Yeah.
I sit down, I get up early in the morning, and I send personal text messages to every person in my contact list. Because I understand the value of relationships. I understand the importance of, people that have impacted my life and continue to impact my life, and hopefully I can brighten their days and make a difference. So transition to this role here, it's been something that I'm blessed to be. April's 3 years, and just seeing the great things that happen. I got a great board, great staff team, and knowing that who knows what can happen. We're just impacting people's lives here, and just honored to be here.
Yeah. Beautiful. Daniel, thank you for overviewing so many key points, all this great community impact, but the people who help set you up to make you, who you are today. Yeah, just so many twists and turns in it. Couple questions, going back.
Yes.
All right. So, the part that really grabbed me that you mentioned a lot is the Papa John's season.
Mhm.
And What was that like for you as a person who'd had some success? It's not working the way that you thought it was going to work, and now you're riding around in this car delivering pizzas. Let us in on what was the internal narrative as you're driving around. A lot of road time, like what's going on inside your head?
Discouraging at times, humbling, definitely, feeling a level of unworthiness, and and questioning God. So God, I'm going through this. Why am I having to deal with the situation? And you have this constant things going on. But anytime I jumped out of the car, I smile on my face and would encourage people. And had a lot of delivery drivers were doing some good things. And I said, God, I just need a break. I need a break. What are you trying to teach me through this situation and service? And I just knew that being in a situation like that, if you can bless someone else, I never forget Mr. Sladik. He's a vice president of a company, did really well for himself, and he's on my deliveries. And I delivered to him, and he said, "Daniel, a tough day today." And I said, "What's that? What's going on, Mr. Sladik?" He said, "I got let go today. I'm sure I'll let something go." And he did really well for himself. So God told me to go ahead and go buy him a book. Now, remember, my money was tight.
Yeah.
Go buy him this book called "Failing Forward" by John Maxwell. And so I bought him this book card, just encouraged him and told him that uh, this book and the Bible have been the ones that helped me through my challenging times. So be able to share this thing with him. And of course, he cried when he bought the book, but things like that where you have a narrative going on, but understanding there's a bigger plan and bigger picture. You may not see it now, but
Hmm.
I knew he had a bigger plan and picture. Also knew that as this was going on through my mind, my kids are looking at me and they're saying, how's dad gonna respond through this challenging time?
Yeah.
How's he gonna be? My wife, of course, being there, knowing that she's holding things down and helping them. So you get narratives or you fight internal battles, but understanding that there's a bigger plan, a big picture.
Hmm. Yeah, what strikes me about the way that you handled that season was you kept embodying that value of relationships piece,
Mhm.
even when you couldn't afford it a lot. And I've had those experiences, in my life where I left something and the new venture just was not working out, and I've got a value for people. I haven't done it as much recently, but I used to write letters to important people every year. And you're inspiring me to kind of get back on that. People who've been helpful to me, people who I admire, who I've learned from. And, you know, I've had to like walk that journey. And I think that what's so encouraging about listening to you, it's almost like this set of tools that most people don't think when things aren't going well, because we live in this culture where we're so individualistic.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, it's all about me. I need to hunker down. I need to make it happen. And you did that for sure, but it's like your framework for success was different.
Mhm.
Like even though I'm down, I'm going to keep reaching out to all
Mhm.
these people. And as you were in that season of time and reaching out to people, they knew what was going on with you. What kinds of encouragement or resources came to you during that time, just even for encouragement or direction from that habit of reaching out to people?
There was a young man, I can't remember his name, but he would deliver everyone wanted to get. Not because he would tip well, but because he used to deliver pizzas and saw something in people and said, "Hey, we're tip really well," but always provide an encouraging word. I never forgot like that. So now with me, every uh, Iron Bowl for the Auburn Alabama game, every Super Bowl because I missed a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I'm doing pizzas. I always order pizza and I take care of the drivers and I ask them the question, are you doing this because you want to do it or because you have to do it? Majority of times people are doing it because they have to do it. So I was tipping really well, and you get people that are, just going through
Mm.
different situations, circumstances. So the level of encouragement that I got from people like him, the level of encouragement I got from my wife and kids, those things kept me going, knowing that a bigger plan, a bigger purpose were in store. And I believe that God prepares you in situations to go through those situations for the bigger plan. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is my first day back to work.
Hmm.
Um, about 7 weeks, 8 weeks ago, I was presented with another opportunity in which I was uh, felt great, like I do now. My wife said that I'm not resting well. She sensed something's wrong. I wasn't sleeping well. Well, she ends up saying you need to go see a cardiologist, and well, I'm okay. I was on that way 3 weeks later and did that. So I go see the cardiologist. They run some scans on me, run a graft on me, and he says we need to get you to CT surgeon because we see some challenges. So I go to CT surgeon, cardiac thoracic surgeon, and they said, "Hey, Daniel, we see 80% blockage in your widowmaker
Wow.
and 95% blockage in one of the other arteries and all 88% in them." Now we have choices here. First of all, we need medication, but medication is not going to do anything right now. Second option is to do some stents. It's a short-term fall. Third one is to go in and do triple bypass open heart surgery. So looked my wife and said, "You think this is the best route?" And of course, we saw the best route, not knowing that it's probably one of the most painful things I've ever had to go through.
Wow.
And he told me it'll be painful, but I said, you go with the mindset, "Oh, I've been through everything. I can get through everything. I've been through the Papa John's, experience all this. God is great. I'm going to show a witness." But when you go through something like that, and knowing that days 2 and 3 are the most painful days I've ever experienced in my life. I've never taken a drug before, never tried a drug, never drank an alcohol in my life, never smoked in my life. But when you're in the middle of the night and you're begging for fentanyl to break through so you get the next painkiller, and you develop a gratefulness and appreciation for the people that are my heroes, the nurses, nurse practitioners, the people who clean the rooms, the respiratory therapists, different people like that impacted my life and who are my heroes. I mean, I'm mid 50s, and when you're in a situation, you're laying in bed there and you can't control your bowels, and they
Hmm.
come in and clean you up and take care of you, and knowing that you're going to be fine in a few days, and I'm going through this, and so those experiences probably help me keep a positive outlook on things, and they end up going through me and not and understanding that everyone's got a story, everyone's got a place, and I'll never forget, Adria, Tyler, Riley, Alexis, um, Joe, Sue, Jennifer. There's a lot of people that along this pathway where I saw the opportunity to hopefully bless them, make a difference in their lives, even though I was going through what I was going through. And they're my heroes, but a lot of times they get overlooked. And get overlooked because when you think about awards and different this, the always top people get it. But these are heroes that do things on a day-to-day basis. And just excited about what we're going to do for them and do some bigger and better things for them. But also understanding that I'm never too far away to understand that I could be delivering pizzas again.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
am I going to be grateful through that journey? Am I going to be
Hmm.
someone who said, "Okay, this journey is for a reason and purpose," and understanding that I've got it good, better than most. And I'm blessed to have a community support and leaders, and I got a great staff on board who've been stood by me. And being out of work for 6 weeks and not just returning, it's been grateful that
Hmm.
I'm able to be here because it could have wound up different. And I
Yeah.
strongly believe what I went through in my past has prepared me for things.
Yeah. Yeah. What encouragement do you have for people who are in the depths of transition? And, they're in that murky middle where they don't see the end. It's inspiring to hear from people who have gone through it and come out. But
Yeah.
when you're in it, you have no clue how you're going to come out of it. And people are like, I just need to survive. I need to, keep my courage somehow. What do you feel like you learned during that time that could serve as like a word of encouragement for people like that?
I know for me, as a believer, power of prayer and power of going through this, but also understanding and encouraging. You can't, when you're in this going through situations like this, Uh, a smile doesn't cost you anything. Encouraging word to someone else, because always someone who has worse situation that you're going through may not see now, but through transition time, try to find the good in people, little things that go away. And I'll go back to my situation where I was with, the triple bypass. You know, something as simple as every time I made a progress was outshine popsicles. A popsicle would make my day, make my expense because I know I'm for. And something as simple as that, and I want to venture with a book called From Popsicle Purpose. But find that something little like that get me to the point where there's little things that you can be grateful for. Transition is not easy. I mean, I can say it now that you're out of it, but there was times that I didn't feel like it. There was times that, I said, am I even worth living through this situation? Am I, and God would tell me that there's bigger plans for you. There's more He wants you to accomplish. So as you go through this transition time, there's going to be a bigger plan, a bigger purpose for you to be successful. And I don't know what it is, but you're here for a reason, a purpose, and utilize this as to accomplish things because the world needs you.
Mm.
And you could be that one word, that one spark, that one encouragement that can change someone else's life. And that,
Yeah, so encouraging. Yeah, it makes me think about, I was talking with my wife recently about how many ancestors it took for you to be
mm,
here. And
yes,
by nature of you being here, it means you're a survivor.
yes,
To think about how many ancestors it took, how many continents, how many
mm,
travels, how many trials,
yes.
and you're the one that's here. I mean, do you reflect on that sometimes?
Yeah, I do. One of the things that one of my parents would teach me, because my mom passed away unexpectedly as well, and they would teach me is um, never forget where you came from, but also give your hand back to someone else, help you a long way because someone helped them be successful, which led to us being successful and things like this. And knowing, leaving some sort of legacy. And I'll never forget the Michael Chittawetta. And he was the first family brought over here to the States from formerly Rhodesia, Zimbabwe. And it's kind of a funny story, but it really happened. And um, he came over, and of course, the town we're in is a college town, so there wasn't many Africans, let alone it was African American students and all that. And one day, my dad and I were sitting there, and we get a phone call from someone. They said, "Hey, is Mike Chittawetta okay?" Yes, yeah. Why you ask? They said because we saw him pushing his bike, and we offered him a ride. He said, "No, no, no, I'm okay, okay." So push his bike. Happens again the next day. Get a phone call. Say, "Hey, is Mike Chittawetta okay?" We see him pushing his bike. Someone else. And then the third time it happened, we said, okay, let's go check out, see what's going on. We asked what happened. So he jumped off the bike. He went there and watched him, jumped off his bikes and pushed his bike for a distance. Well, we go over there and there's a sign that says no pedaling a mile and a half. So we see that, but he was so concerned with doing the right thing because he wanted a better life for himself that he was jumping off his bike and no pedaling like this. So you look about that, but how many times do we have on our boards values that we believe in, mission statements we believe in? Do we really follow those things, or are they just things that we can just feel good about? And so I believe that here for reason, purpose, and every day is important. Anything can happen anywhere else, anytime, but what kind of impact you making on this world going forward? And just knowing that Stephen A. Smith wrote a book recently, and he talked about in the book there. He says that you have a responsibility, and I believe strongly that I have a responsibility to carry that can impact people's lives and make the most of each and every day. My wife and I, every day, we pray before we start day off, and we thank God. Like today was July 7th, 2025. There'll never be the July 7th, 2025 again. What can you do to make impact on someone's life today? How can we be a blessing to someone else today? Because tomorrow's not promised. So that's why
Yeah.
let's try to carry on every day and
Hmm.
just if I can provide an encouraging word. If I can see someone, and not saying we don't have bad days, all of us have challenging moments and days. And uh, so what can we do to make a difference in people's lives?
Daniel, thank you. It's so great. As we finish up, maybe you could leave us with a blessing for those who are in times of change. And after you bless us, tell us how can people get in contact with you if they'd like to talk to you more. So I'll leave it to you.
Okay. Well, if I mind praying, I guess I'll pray, if that's
Go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead. Love it.
Thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for a man like David, who wants to make a difference through his podcast. And whoever's listening to this, Father, hope they got something out of it. And knowing that they can become closer to you, but also knowing that transition is the point in time in their lives, Father, that they can know that greater things are to come. For someone who may be right now contemplating suicide, someone who could be contemplating just getting discouraged, Father, and leaving their families and doing other things. Just be with them right now, Father, and help them to realize that they're here for a reason and a purpose, Father, and just touch and be with them. And we thank you for the blessing of technology and how you created this to us be able to utilize it for our good and help us to know that the greater things are to come. And we're just fortunate and blessed to be here today. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. And my phone number is 256-468-1801. That's my cell number. That's 256-468-1801. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody and help them when possible.
Daniel, thank you. Thank you for our listeners for being here. Daniel Kasambira,
Perfect.
President, CEO of United Way in Madison County, Huntsville, Alabama. And Daniel, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Well, special thank you to Daniel for an awesome interview. Thank you for sharing your story with such openness, honesty, vulnerability. I look forward to interacting with you more, my friend, when I'm in Huntsville next. Daniel is a great example of what happens when you're a steady leader. If there are some of you listening who would like to get in touch with him, reach out to that number he mentioned. And also, if you're interested in sharpening your leadership, how can I say, not skills, but your leadership core, we have something called the Leadership Renewal Collective. And you can learn more about that at achatacoaching.com, A-C-H-A-T-A coaching.com. And around that homepage, you'll see a coaching cohorts button. And the Leadership Renewal Collective is about how you gain disciplines of stability to sustain your life when things are kind of chaotic. And Daniel's story was a great example of a steady person in the midst of chaos. So go check that out. If this podcast was helpful, you can support us at davidachata.substack.com. And for $8 a month, you can get in on a monthly conversation. All the writing there is free. We discuss the podcast, the writing, so go check that out. Looking forward to seeing each of you next week again. I have another returning guest. It's my friend Tommy Rutledge. He did an interview for season 2 on resilience. He was the bonus episode, and it was right after Hurricane Helene hit over in Asheville, North Carolina, and he was sharing his story. Go back and check that out. But in particular, I had him back to talk about how he has gone through a personal transformation through starting his church. And so Tommy's going to share about that and drop a little Easter egg here for you that you can explore more. Also about the advent of his business, which has to do with goats. So you got to come check Tommy out. He's so cool, such an interesting guy. Hope you'll be back next week for the How People Grow podcast, season 4. And we'll see you then.